The wonderful thing about homeschooling was that I was able to travel back and forth between Canada and my parents' home country, Panama. So I spent a lot of time with my mom. My mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was about 9 years old. Eventually, she was declared cancer-free. But shortly after, she had developed colon cancer and metastases in the bones. Regardless of how she felt, she was always such a strong woman. The cancer was very advanced, and even though in the back of my mind I knew that she didn't have a lot of time, I didn't want to accept it. I felt that my mom would live forever. I was about 20 years old and my mom passed away. And I've gone through so many things that a child should not go through. But I feel like nothing is as hard as losing your mom. At least that's how it was for me at the moment, and still is. I gave up. I was already married at the time. I married very young, literally only a few days after I turned 17. Losing my mom, I left behind my whole life in Canada, my family behind. I left debt, credit card debt, my things, everything. And I decided, what's the point? I'm just going to go to Panama. I'm going to move there permanently, and that's what I did. I had no job. I had no aspirations. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about my own life. My mother-in-law and my husband were so kind to me, and they would take care of me because I've given up so bad and so hard. And I gave up on God as well. I gave up on my relationship with Christ. And I just thought, what's the point? My mom was a very good woman. She didn't deserve any of the things that happened to her. I started drinking. I would get drunk. I started to not care. I wouldn't go to church anymore. Instead, I'd go to parties and I would just live a life that just didn't care about anything. Eventually, one day after so many years of waiting, we received notice that my husband's paperwork was ready and he could finally move to Canada with me. It took so long, we worked so hard, and my mom's dream was for my husband to go to Canada, so we packed up and we decided to make the move. We spent 3 months apart before my husband could finally come, and during those 3 months it was really tough. I was basically homeless. I was hopping from home to home and having a lot of issues wherever I was going. We had nothing. There was no furniture, no bed, no nothing. All I had was a little airplane blanket, and I put that on the floor with my dog, and we slept on the floor. It took about 2 months for me to be able to get a bed. But I finally got a bed. After a lot of hard work and finally getting my husband to Canada, all of a sudden I find out I was pregnant. We didn't plan, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of just immigrating to Canada, and my husband was going through some severe culture shock and the language barrier and everything, and we were fighting a lot because he was depressed and I was depressed, and everybody was depressed. Nobody could help each other. I think my dog was even depressed. It was very hard to be pregnant in the middle of something like that and not have my mother to help me, and not knowing what we're doing. We had our baby girl, and best thing ever, really, that ever happened to us. And as our family was coming together and we were slowly recovering from everything that had happened and everything that was going on, all of a sudden we get a knock on our door. And it was 2 young ladies standing at our door. At first I was like, oh, no, I don't want these people coming into my house, and I don't want them, preaching to me, and I don't want them talking about anything. I don't want to hear it. And I just kept pushing them away. The house that we were living in, we were going through some pretty supernatural things, believe it or not. It was a little bit wild. So we had the card. We contacted the girls that were persistently always coming to our door. We're like, hey, can you help us? So they're like, yes, we can. And they brought some guys with them, and then all came in. They sat in my living room and we said a prayer together. They blessed our home. And I promise you, and I kid you not, after that, it was gone. There was nothing else. And I was so grateful. Our family was so grateful for that we should give them a chance. And we allowed them to come and talk to us. And that's really what we did. All we did was really talk. So they kept coming back. And we would talk about all of our interests and the things that we have in common. And they would always leave with a message of Christ. And a spiritual message, a spiritual thought. And it was always something we had to hear. It was the right message at the right time. As time went by, they just kept coming. They said, hey, would you like to go back to church, because that time they found out that I used to be active and I used to go to church, and they're like, do you want to come back to church? And I'm like, well, I mean, we're friends now, so yeah, let's give it a shot. The level of spirituality that I have received and the challenges that they have given me, I stopped drinking, and it's like the anxiety and the depression just left my body. Sometimes all it takes is leaving behind our stubbornness and saying to that voice in your head that keeps telling you, don't listen, you don't need them, you don't need help, and just accept that you do, and accept that you sometimes just need to talk to someone, and you sometimes just need to allow a stranger into your home or into your life or into your conversation, and initiate that communication, that discussion. It could be what will drive your spirituality, your happiness, that will erase all of those negative feelings you've felt in your life